Hello, and welcome to Marriage Unchained, the art of one flesh, where saving marriages, saving families, and saving souls is the flavor of the day. Now, let's join our host and author of Marriage Unchained, Catholic Alpha Radical, Jerry Jacobs Jr.
Welcome to episode 32. Today's focus, Bulldog lawyer, Big John Molloy. How to save your marriage when she doesn't want to. So sit back, relax, take a chill pill, and get ready to rock. But don't duck. Can you feel it? Catholic Alpha Radical coming at you now. Hello and welcome to Catholic Alpha Radical, the podcast that helps you fix your Catholic marriage while also giving you winning tactics for marriage problems, girlfriend problems, and intimacy problems for men. Moreover, where my main mission is to keep you out of divorce court, and where Marriage Unchained, the art of one flesh, divorce, combat coaching is the flavor of the day, while also helping men understand marriage and courting, not dating, in the Catholic faith. Why? Because dating is for sex and courting is for marriage. In this 30-second episode, Bulldog lawyer, Big John Molloy, how to save your marriage when she just doesn't want to. Bam! So here we have quote of the day. Let's do this. Quote of the day, quote, "In history, the only causes that die are those for which men refuse to die. The more love grows, the more its eyes open to the needs of others, to the miseries of men, and to compassion. The remedy for all the sufferings of modern brain lies in the enlargement of the heart, through love which forgets itself as the subject and begins to love the neighbor as the object. But he who lives for himself will eventually find that nature, fellow man, and God are all against him. The so-called persecution complex is the result of egotism. The world seems against him who wants everything for himself." End quote. Venerable Archbishop Fulton J. Sheen, Book 3, To Get Married. She's asked for divorce. Now what? Of course, you just didn't see it coming, but it has. So now, what do you do? Well, what you do is, step 1, you decide to man up and fight for her no matter what. Step 2, decide if one of these categories in the marriage maintenance master plan fits your situation. A, she's asked for divorce. B, she has left the home. C, mutually agreed separation but didn't want it. D, she's in the home but distant or separate bedrooms. E, you're divorced but didn't want it. Now, step 3, if you are in one of these critical situations or close to it, then register to watch the Marriage Masterclass immediately at www.savemycatholicmarriage.com. Step 4, after watching the masterclass, get the help you need by scheduling a discovery and strategy session to receive a proven plan of action tailored specifically for your situation. Many husbands will look at this and go back to allowing their marriage to fade into oblivion, accepting failure. But some will look at this and say, wonder if this works. Those are the warriors. Those are the husbands I want to go into battle with. Those are the husbands I want to work with. So allow me to help. Those that do nothing have a 100% chance of failure. Those that decide to battle, fight, and act like true men become worthy of winning their beloved back. Which are you? Visit www.savemycatholicmarriage.com. That's www.savemycatholicmarriage.com. learn how to once again become her hero. All right, everybody. Welcome to Catholic Alpha Radical. And today I'm going to do my segment on Man on Fire. And today I have my friend John Molloy. He attends Holy Rosary Catholic Church in Indianapolis with me. He has been married 10 years to his beloved wife, Amy. He has 2 children, Sophia 5 and Evelyn 2. He is an assistant DA in Indianapolis, Indiana, which is where I am from. And we brought John here for a special purpose today to help us dissect the divorce culture in the country, and how it works inside the justice system and how it intertwines with our beloved Catholic Church. So welcome, Big John. How you doing, brother?
Doing well. How are you doing, Jerry?
Good, man. I know that this is hard for you to come on in the middle of the day because you are a serious on fire attorney. You got a lot of things going on.
Honestly, it's a nice little reprieve.
Oh, what do you mean?
Oh, I'm working today, filing motions and doing all sorts of stuff. So I'm taking an early lunch and spending the latter part of my morning with you. So I mean, who would I rather look at, you or criminals?
I don't know, bro.
Criminals. I'd rather be looking at criminals, Jerry.
So, first of all, we're going to get into understanding the divorce culture and stuff a little later. But first, man, I want to do some background with you. I always do my dudes, man, how they, because I know you love the cat. I know you love the faith, man. I see it every Sunday with you and your wife and your family and stuff, and you're there, and you're very reverent. So that's why one of the reasons why I have you on. But I didn't tell you that when I asked you to do the interview.
Flattery will get you.
So the first question I want to ask you is, how did you and Amy meet? How old are you guys?
Let's see. I'm 36-ish. 36. I was born in 83, so you do the math. I don't know. I stopped counting. I stopped counting a long time ago. I don't do birthdays.
I don't need. I don't count either.
And then Amy's just a filthy liar. She always says she's 30. For the longest time, she said she was 28, but she's a liar. She's very Christ-like this year. She's 33.
Oh, okay.
So everyone from Holy Rosary who's listening to this, I did not say that.
You didn't?
30.
She's 30. She's 30. Got you.
She's lying, sure. And I'm swearing to it. So that's the way this works. We met on May 24th, 2009 in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho.
How do you know the exact date, man?
Because
if my wife asked me that, I'd be screwed.
Well, because I'm awesome and you're not, Jerry.
That's right. Hey, I got to give credit where credit's due on that one.
No, it was a Sunday. It was after Mass. My best friend and I were just got out of church. We were attending school at Gonzaga University in Spokane, Washington. Go Bulldogs. We got out of church and decided we were going to go for ice cream. And the best place in the Pacific Inland Northwest for ice cream is the Dockside Restaurant at the Coeur d'Alene Resort, some 40 miles away. So we got in my car and we drove to Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. And on the way there, we called one of my sister's friends, Miss Frances Walker. My sister had moved to the greater Chicago area earlier in the year, and we thought my sister's friend Frances may be lonely, so we called Frances and invited her to go get ice cream with us. And she had said, "Oh, I'd love to come, but I'm not driving. I'm celebrating a friend's 21st birthday. Do you mind if I bring some friends?" And I leaned over to my buddy Adam. And I'm like, "Francis has some hot friends. We should, let Francis bring her friends." And so, like, yeah, the more the merrier. So, sure enough, Francis showed up, and she brought Amy with her, my wife, and Amy is very attractive. So Francis had called me. Adam and I got into the restaurant before Francis and Amy did. Probably no one who listens to your podcast has ever been to the Coeur d'Alene Resort, but it's a 4 or 5 star resort built out into the Coeur d'Alene Lake in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and it's supported by these pylons built into the lake. So I got up from the table and walked out to meet Francis and Amy, who I'd never met Amy before.
Oh, okay.
I stepped out of the way so another family could walk by behind one of these pylons, and then stepped forward to give Miss Francis a hug. And Miss Francis is a full-figured woman who does not normally give people hugs.
Yeah.
And Amy, who at that time was just finishing up a pre-law enforcement program going into a pre-med program, for some reason on a Sunday morning at a 5-star resort, thought I might be a serial rapist and tased me to the ground.
What?
Yeah, tased me.
Why?
Because she didn't think that her very large friend should be getting a hug from someone she didn't know.
Oh man, I'd have punched her, dude. I don't punch women, but I'd have punched her.
Well, my mother,
I recovered.
the good Irish woman she is, she says you never hit a lady unless she hits you first.
That's right. So. I don't. Boy, what the?
So, she knew my sister, and my sister was Amy's resident assistant in college. But I don't look anything like my sister. I'm a good 1.5 feet taller than my sister, almost 2 feet taller than my sister. So, Francis was like, "That's Betsy Molloy's brother," and Amy was like, "Oh, hi."
Yeah, you had her before you even said a word. She probably felt so sorry for you.
No, she did not. She did not feel sorry for me at all.
Oh.
But we spent the entire rest of the day hanging out together on the lake. We crashed her friend's 21st birthday run. The next day was my roommate's 21st birthday, so we just piggybacked on each other's birthday party celebrations. Hung out that entire summer, and I knew by the end of that summer that she was the one for me. So we were engaged.
Yeah. So how did? Okay, now you go. I'm not letting you get past this one. How did you propose to her, dude?
I proposed New Year's Eve.
Oh,
it would have been. Like we were talking about, I took her home to my parents at Christmas to introduce her to my parents. But I proposed officially New Year's Eve in Coeur d'Alene, where we'd spent that first day, and watching the fireworks go off. And she said yes.
I know, but was it a quick yes or a crying yes, or
was it crying, not looking at my hand, the size of the ring?
Oh, okay, all right, man. So what? So why? What attracted you to Amy, and why did you marry her?
I'm completely shallow.
Me too.
It was the blonde hair and the
That's right, bro. I'm with you.
Perfect skin tone. Like,
hey, we visual, bro. That's how we roll,
Yeah. I can also argue the traumatic brain injury from my head slamming into the tile floor probably had something to do with it.
Okay. So, let me ask you this. This is a little deeper question. Like, why did you decide to get married in general? Because you know how men are. Like, if we see a woman that we what made you start thinking about marriage? Because what, you're like 21 or something, you said? 22?
I would have been 25-ish.
Okay. So,
well, I was in minor seminary prior to meeting Amy.
Now we're getting deeper.
Yeah, so I was, when at Gonzaga, there's Bishop White Seminary. It's an it's a diocesan seminary. It's not attached to Gonzaga. Gonzaga's seminary, it's a Jesuit school. It had closed several decades ago.
Mm-hmm.
But
I wonder why.
Well,
anyway.
it's Jesuit. Yeah. So, I mean, they're just barely Catholic anyway.
Right.
But the diocesan seminary, it's a minor seminary. It's attached to the university, kind of like Simon Brute is here, to Marion. So I took classes through the seminary, and I had always wanted to be a priest and had bounced the idea around, but then I felt called elsewhere, and then I thought, well, maybe I want to be a traditional Latin Mass priest, so maybe I want to go to Rome or join fraternity. But I knew I wanted to go to Gonzaga and finish my degree there. And then I became somewhat disillusioned with not Catholicism, but with the priesthood, and thought maybe I needed to take a step back. And that would have been around Christmas of 2008. Then there was a massive snowstorm. Spokane got like 5.5, 6 feet of snow in a matter of a week. And it was just pump the brakes, take a step back, leave religious studies for a while. And I ended up focusing on I changed my major, history and philosophy, and then switched my majors to minors, and did Italian studies and canon law as minors.
Oh, wow. So you can answer all those questions I asked you. I was like worried, man. But man, all those questions I'm gonna ask you, you can really answer them for real. If you,
I can answer some of them. It's one of those, you don't use it, you lose it.
I know. But one of the things I was gonna say is, the other day, our priest, he's always trying to do the pushing for the for vocations and stuff. And so he got up last week, and he got on us again about how we didn't, we should, parents shouldn't dissuade their children, and they should encourage, and how in Indianapolis, the emergency plan for the archdiocese is, if a priest can't serve, then they have our 93-year-old retired priest who has congestive heart failure. He is the substitute, because all the priests are really just really down and are basically leaving or gone or retiring or whatever. And I don't know, I think he maybe knows it, but I think the reason that people aren't encouraging their kids to be priests, or kids aren't trying to be priests, is because they're not preaching the word, man. I told Mary that. I said, the word is what gets people to consider, parents and children to consider. And almost anywhere you go, they don't talk about the word. They don't talk about the serious thing, the serious problems in the church. Like, I know in this one archdiocese, they were told you cannot preach on homosexuality. They just told them you can't do that. To me, that order is unjust. You can't tell me not to preach on the word of God. But basically, that's why you have no priests, because you won't preach the word, man.
Well, and the other thing, I mean, I was watching The Bells of St. Mary's and Going My Way.
Oh, that is so good.
And some of the other movies this past weekend. Mm-hmm. And I kept thinking to myself, if we had Father O'Malley, if we had Bing, if we had these priests again, if we had priests who were lacing up and teaching our boys how to box, we wouldn't have this issue.
Yeah.
And I mean, I look at Holy Rosary, and you know, we've got Sam, and you know, he's a good seminarian. I like him. He's a good kid, and I look forward to being able to call him Father. You know, he's got another year. Or
that's all.
Not even that. Well, I mean, he's a transitional deacon, so he's got.
Oh, wow!
I mean, he's got just a little bit left.
Just a little bit left.
But I see all those other, you know, young men serving at the altar. And I remember Father Majira several, years ago, almost a decade, saying that if he could hit a couple of them in the back of the head with the missile, he would do it.
Yeah. It's sad, man. I mean, I feel Father McCarthy. I really feel him because I see the devastation we're in. But of course, that's all part of the church suffering. That's part of us, us suffering for when you see when God gives you the wisdom and you love him and he sees it, he gives you all these vision. You see everything for what it really is. So I understand Father McCarthy's pain, but man, until the priest and the bishop start preaching the word, when I say preach the word, I mean holding it down. I mean, talking about all the tough subjects, not just talking about love and mercy every week, really fire, because the word is what fires us all up, because then people start to thirst for the knowledge of the faith.
Well, I'll tell you what, I've literally gotten up and left Mass during a homily.
Wow.
And all I hear is love.
Yeah.
Like I've turned them into drinking games before.
It's like sickening.
I can't do it.
So go ahead. Oh no. So the question is, so then what made you actually decide to get married?
I don't want to be flippant about it, but I was called to it.
Okay.
Like I knew that summer of 2009, that Amy was the one for me. Everything was pointing towards it. I'm a child of a relatively immigrant family. Amy's an anchor baby. Her family's from Italy, from Parma, Italy. They're Catholic.
Okay.
It's everything fit. Her parents are still married.
Beautiful.
All of her aunts and uncles are still married.
Wow. Don't that make a difference, man?
Oh yeah.
That makes a huge difference, dude.
I mean, her siblings are horrible people, but I mean, so are mine. So I mean, everyone has.
Can't be perfect. You can't have everything, right?
Those sibling things, but
yeah.
I mean, she's just. I mean, sure, there's those little dents you just want to buff out of your spouse, but I mean. Yeah. I'm sure I can't think of anything.
Oh, of course not.
Want to change about me. I mean, I'm just an alabaster statue that's just perfection. But, I mean, I knew. I just had this feeling. And while the last 10 years feel like 20 minutes underwater sometimes.
I know.
I wouldn't trade it for anything.
So, when did you like when you guys first got married? So when did you start really loving Christ in the church? Because you're a convert, right? Or
I'm a cradle Catholic.
Okay. So, oh man, I hear that all the time from my wife. But we don't know nothing. We didn't know nothing. Y'all know so much. Y'all converts know so much more than us. I'm like, no, we don't. But my question is, being a cradle Catholic, this is probably even more relevant. Like, when did you start really loving Christ in the church? When did it click for you?
I'm going to say immediately. Unlike some of you other cradles, I mean, my family can trace back its devout Catholicism hundreds and thousands. I mean, literally 1,000 years or more. In Ireland, we've got multiple saints. We've got hundreds of priests. I currently have 3 priests in the family right now.
Wow.
We've had 4 bishops, and upwards of 15 monsignors. The most recent
in your family?
In the family. We've got 4 beatifications, 6 martyrs, and
what?
7 saints in our family.
Isn't that something?
So
wow. Excuse me, brother.
So for us, and we were raised, all of my siblings, we were raised with you come from a long line of very devout people.
Right.
It is your faith. And it wasn't even the most important part of us wasn't our pedigree. It wasn't our family history. It wasn't, these are your ancestors. It was the gift that your ancestors gave you isn't your bloodline. It isn't your blonde hair, or your blue eyes, or
your money, or all that.
Your money or anything else. It's your faith.
Man, that is beautiful.
Here, it's this tangible gift. It's this faith. It's this gift that's getting you into heaven. And we're going to instill it in you early. So from one of the earliest memories I have is literally being drugged to Mass.
Yeah.
I was like 3 or 4 years old. I didn't want to go to Mass, and I threw myself down on a cactus because I didn't want to get in the car. My father went up the hill, grabbed me, threw me into the car over my mother's lap. It was a Buick station wagon. My mother had a pair of pliers, pulled the spines of the cactus out of the seat of my pants.
Yeah.
And then I sat on the pew bleeding during Mass because that was not an excuse not to go to Mass.
Amen, brother.
I never sat on a cactus again.
I tell my dudes, man, I say, look, man, the faith, you just do not know how you will change. You are the proof, John. You are the proof. I tell my dudes, I say, look, man, I preach all the time. If you go to Mass and learn the faith and teach it and exuberate it inside your family, your kids will. If the mother just does it, nobody cares. But if you, the father, does it, it's a 90% chance that the kids will be still in the faith. And not just that generate the next, their kids will be married right, their kids, and then their kids. It's, you want to leave a legacy, man. That's what you do. You teach the faith and have everybody inside the faith, and then they grow towards God together, man. That's how you rock it. Just like your family. That is something, dude. Man, I could talk about that for the whole next hour.
Well, and I'm going to say that, like, with my generation and my family, with my siblings, my youngest brother, Robert, which you'll actually have the ability to meet him in 2 weeks' time, perhaps. He and his wife are coming in to visit I think the 17th.
John, now you are so private. You ain't let nobody meet your brother unless he come to Mass.
You can look at him from a distance.
You are a very private man, dude. Don't even go there.
Well, he married a Lutheran girl from Chicago. And she's very sweet girl.
They are all sweet till you piss them off.
He's the only one of my siblings who stayed in the faith. My sister married a very nice man, super nice guy. I like him more than my sister. But his family, I think they're Romanian gypsies or something. They were Catholic, but they left the faith because of a family issue some 2 decades ago. And now they're born again Christians. And my brother Joseph, who's the middle child, he converted to Antiochian Orthodoxy. And which, I mean, I'm not going to say it's more or less liberal or
It's like
more
what
conservative.
It's like you don't know what it is.
It's like, I want to say like Greek Orthodox or Russian Orthodox. It's an orthodoxy, but I don't know. I haven't been so bored as to look into it. But all I know is it's not in communion with Holy Mother Church.
Okay, gotcha.
So there's some serious questions as to the legitimacy of their wedding. Yeah. But my parents, I mean, part of the issue with my siblings is that my parents are 50 some odd miles from their parish church. So when I moved away and went to college, my parents weren't driving in every Sunday to Mass. So, and our local priest wasn't able to come out to the chapel on my parents' ranch and offer Mass every Sunday. So there wasn't Mass every Sunday. And they started drifting away.
Yep. It happens. So what was the one thing in your life that snapped you out of the twilight zone and made you think I need to start trying to get married and be a better man?
I don't quite understand your question. What do you mean the twilight zone?
Like the twilight zone, like we were talking earlier, like being blind, like not really seeing, not really knowing what your purpose was, like not really knowing what I was supposed to be doing, you know.
I think it's multifaceted. I guess it was looking around and seeing the people that I was going to school with. Everyone was really focused on their education. People I was hanging out with. There were some people that I was hanging out with that were less focused on that, and they were more there for a good time. But I mean, Gonzaga is a very good school. It's like Notre Dame or Princeton or
they're in the Final Four, the championship game, aren't they?
Championship game.
That's right. March Madness is your thing. You know all this.
I have had a huge chip on my shoulder against you for a decade.
I know.
Because you keep scheduling things during March Madness.
Well, I don't know what we're going to be doing now.
Well, Monday night, Amy and I were up until 2:00 in the morning because we were at the championship game watching Gonzaga get their butts handed to them. So
you were actually at the game?
Yeah.
Where was the game at?
Lucas Oil.
See, that lets you know how much I know. I used to be, man, I knew all the teams. I did a chart. I had like my little thing
bracket.
Dude, my bracket. I have everything, dude. I had my wine, my drinks and my chill. I'd be sitting by myself. That's how much I was into it. Now, dude, I couldn't tell you who was in it, where it's at, what's going on.
All I can tell you is that Baylor dominated. They deserved to win.
Wow.
But
the good thing is it wasn't Duke. It wasn't North Carolina. It wasn't, all these schools that normally are in the Final Four and all that stuff.
Well, and the way I look at it is, thank goodness IU is still relevant. The Hoosiers are still relevant because of their win 4 decades ago.
I know. I don't see how they are still like, we're this basketball state. I'm like, yeah, okay. So, okay, man. One last question in this area. So when you were first married, were you always a good father and husband? If not, what happened to make you start taking it seriously? If so, where did you get the foundation from?
Well,
I know I wasn't. I was not. I was all crap there. I didn't know nothing.
Well, I'm going to say no, I wasn't. So we were married, like our actual ceremony, we were married on campus at Gonzaga University at St. Aloysius.
Wow.
It was a gorgeous church. We had a solemn high Latin mass,
Mm-hmm.
the first one that the church had had since '63. We had multiple priests in choir. The president of the university was there. We had 2 members of the Washington State Supreme Court there. It was a big deal for the university.
Wow.
And I got caught up in the pomp and circumstance.
The what circumstance?
The pomp and circumstance, the airs, the dress and the suits and the place settings and everything that was going on.
Gotcha. Mm-hmm.
Amy had ulcers. She ended up in the emergency room.
Dang.
And I was asking her what her problem was. Like, what the hell is your problem?
Mm-hmm.
Like, suck it up. Cry on the inside like a winner.
Yeah.
I mean, we got married a month after I graduated and 3 months before I started law school.
Mm-hmm.
Everything was going right for me. I graduated Gonzaga. I got married to a knockout.
Mm-hmm.
I'm moving across country. I've been accepted to all but one of the law schools I'd applied to.
Right.
I'm starting law school. I'm starting a new life. Everything is going my way. See,
you forgot to bring your wife.
Cosby reference.
You forgot to bring your wife along, right?
And I forgot to bring her along.
Yeah.
And within a month and a half of us getting married, I'm getting hit on at work by one of my coworkers. No, I didn't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm feeling flattered that I'm getting hit on.
Mm-hmm.
And then we move here to Indiana, which my wife lovingly refers to as Satan's butt crack. Because in August, it is.
Oh, boy.
And we moved here sight unseen. I mean, we'd been to South Bend.
Really?
Because I'd been accepted to Notre Dame, where we'd walked into a gang standoff at a grocery store.
Yes, you told me about that. Tell us about that. Because let me let's talk about that for a second. 2 minutes.
So we went to South Bend in February.
Mm-hmm.
Not a pleasant place in February.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted vegetables. So we pulled into a grocery store, and my wife, ever the observant person, situational awareness.
Yes.
She's looked around and she's like, I'm not getting out of this car. And I'm like, I want some fruits and vegetables. And she's like, you're on your own, sweet cheeks. And so I get out and I hear doors locked behind me, and I'm looking back at her and she's like, bye. And I'm walking up and there's police cars in front of this store, and I'm walking right by them, and this police officer flags me down, and he's like, you need to go back to your car. And I'm like, excuse me? Like,
dude, you are totally unaware.
Going to the grocery store. and I'm I'm a little white boy from the West. I'm going to the grocery store.
Right.
And he's like, you need to go back to your car. And I'm like, I'm just going in for some carrots and some grapes, man. Like, pack off. And he's like, go back to your MFing car.
Oh.
And I'm like, dude. And he's like, you're walking into a gang standoff. There's a gang from Toledo, which who the hell knew that Toledo had
a gang to Toledo.
And a gang from Chicago. And they will gang together to kill you, white boy.
Right.
And I'm like,
I guess
okay.
Okay, I got it now.
So I go back to the car. I'm like, there's a gang standoff. And Amy, we weren't married at that time. Amy said, I'm not moving here. And if you try to move me here, We're not getting married. You understand me? We're not moving here. It's not happening. This place sucks. So,
wow.
We didn't move there.
Wow.
We moved here instead.
Oh.
Out of the frying pan into the fire.
Yeah. We got
games. Maybe not
too.
The fire, but at least another frying pan of some sort. Maybe a wok or something like that.
She's asked for divorce. Now what? Of course, you just didn't see it coming, but it has. So now, what do you do? Well, what you do is, step 1, you decide to man up and fight for her no matter what. Step 2, decide if one of these categories in the marriage maintenance master plan fits your situation. A, she's asked for divorce. B, she has left the home. C, mutually agreed separation but didn't want it. D, she's in the home but distant or separate bedrooms. E, you're divorced but didn't want it. Now, step 3, if you are in one of these critical situations or close to it, then register to watch the Marriage Masterclass immediately at www.savemycatholicmarriage.com. Step 4, after watching the masterclass, get the help you need by scheduling a discovery and strategy session to receive a proven plan of action tailored specifically for your situation. Many husbands will look at this and go back to allowing their marriage to fade into oblivion, accepting failure. But some will look at this and say, wonder if this works. Those are the warriors. Those are the husbands I want to go into battle with. Those are the husbands I want to work with. So allow me to help. Those that do nothing have a 100% chance of failure. Those that decide to battle, fight, and act like true men become worthy of winning their beloved back. Which are you? Visit www.savemycatholicmarriage.com. That's www.savemycatholicmarriage.com. Learn how to once again become her hero. All right, man. So what we're going to do now is we're going to move into the understanding divorce. My dudes that I talk to a lot, they are, they want to know. I told them I was going to interview you, and so I'm gonna play this part of the podcast to them so that they can, get a good idea, or at least a good general idea of what's going on. So tell me, like, before we get started with the actual questions, you told me you wanted to tell me about your background a little bit with divorce and canon law and that kind of thing.
Okay, so first I just want to say to all of your regular listeners and the guys that you're helping out that I am sorry that Jerry has hyped me up, because you're going to be sorely disappointed. So I work for the city and county here. I do criminal law, and I have for the past 5-6 years. Prior to that, I was in private practice for 4.5 years. I did criminal law there too as a defense attorney, but I also did civil law, and I assisted with divorce and mediation. I say that I assisted with divorce and family law and mediation because I did not want to do it myself. And I did not want to do it myself because of my faith. My willingness to assist was based on the knowledge that in some cases annulment would be necessary. Mm-hmm. And also I thought that in some cases where there were children, even if annulment wasn't necessary, someone who wasn't trying to defend a parent or be on the parent's side and maybe would be on the side of the kids was also kind of nice. So I was always there. And my wife, who has a master's in clinical neuropsychology, worked with kids and stuff like that. She would step in and help out and do stuff with the kids once in a while if we needed someone to take care of the kids during mediations and stuff like that. So that's where my involvement with this type of stuff comes from.
Wow.
So that's my background.
So my first question is going to be, so then can you explain generally how divorce works and how it's different now from how it used to be in the country?
Okay, so historically speaking, you couldn't just go out and get a divorce. You had to have grounds for it. And it varied from state to state. So there had to be fault, there had to be justification or reason. My experience or my knowledge is based on states I've lived in: Washington, Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, Colorado, and Indiana. Historically, in those states, you had to be able to establish adultery, financial instability caused by misuse of funds, abandonment, whether that be actual physical abandonment or physical sexual abandonment. So, you're cutting someone off, refusal to be intimate with your spouse.
Wow.
That was grounds for divorce in some states. Odd bases in some states. Idaho, for a long time, you could divorce if after the marriage you didn't get your dowry, if the wife's family didn't provide the dowry within 5 years. And I think
now, what's the dowry? What's that?
So when you're married, the wife's family traditionally had to pay the new husband to take her off their hands.
Oh, wow.
So some people had hope chests or things like that, where
I got you.
Enough to set up the new household.
Boy, I wish I'd have had that. Boy, that'd have been nice.
That has largely, that's been done away with. Largely now, my understanding is it's because the wife's family pays tens of thousands of dollars on the wedding itself.
Yeah.
So, when you're going to a courthouse or you're going to a church and you're paying $100 for the officiant to, officiate a wedding, you can pay $300 or $400 in gold and a couple of cows and furniture. Okay, that makes sense. But you're paying, that equivalent for a dress and food and 1,000 guests and blah, 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 blah. It's a trade-off.
Yeah.
So I think that, like in the case of Idaho and other states that had that on the books, it was a holdover from the religious background. In Idaho's case, I think it was the Latter-day Saints or the Mormons. I think it was a holdover from them. But that was stricken some 15, 20 years ago when Idaho had gone through and cleared out some of its more antiquated laws, like the wife's ability to hit her husband on the head with a frying pan, except for Sundays. That got taken off the books a few years ago too.
We're going to where, like, how is it? So, okay, that was how it used to be. So how is it now?
Now states, I think universally, have adopted a no-fault divorce approach.
Oh, goodness.
And that permits either party to petition the court through a complaint or a filing, which is filed with the court. After having paid a filing fee, which in Marion County, I believe is $151 or $161. There was a change.
That's it?
A few years ago. But after a filing fee is paid, to request that the court dissolve the legal bond between the two parties. Once that is filed, it is in the court's hands, and the court has the ability then, or it's their responsibility, the court's responsibility, to make sure that the other party, the respondent, receives the petitioner's filings. And there's normally an extra fee that the petitioner, the person who did the initial filing, has to pay for a civil filing to be served by the civil sheriff or other serving entity, to be served on the respondent, the other person, normally the husband, in my experience.
Yeah.
And then they have 30 business days to respond. They would have the ability to petition the court for an extension, and they have the ability to respond to the court, or respond to the petitioning party through the court, answer the complaint or the petition, and at that point, they can either have an uncontested, and they can either agree, which they could technically do at the very beginning when the petition is first filed.
Okay.
Or you can end up with what is called a contested divorce, where things get ugly. It's the nicest way to put it.
So is there a way, okay, with no for divorce, and you got experience in a lot of different states, so that's also a great thing. Is there a way to stop it? If somebody wants it, they're going to get it, is what you're saying, basically. Is there a way to stop it?
That's a loaded question. And, I chuckle. I don't mean to be flippant about that.
I want you to be honest, dude.
Here's the thing. I know that this is a very, very difficult topic. Okay? So, and you know me, I'm someone, sarcasm. I am the most sarcastic person that you may have ever met.
Yeah, pretty much.
And this is probably the most straight-laced you've ever seen me.
Right. and this right here is hard for you.
I've been chewing my tongue so much, I'm tasting blood, sir. So, this is almost like being in a jury trial. Like this is pretty good, actually. Yeah, you can stop it.
But it's going to hurt.
It's going to hurt. I've seen it stop.
So give me, because I can see this is a little difficult for you. So give me an example of when you've seen it stopped to make it easier.
Okay. So the most unpleasant way I've seen it stop, I've seen someone pass away.
They killed themselves?
Yes.
Okay, I'm not trying to stop it like that, John.
You did not put any caveats on it, Jerry. Sorry, Bear Bear.
Okay, I'm not trying to go that far, dog. I'm not trying to.
You didn't say. You didn't say. You said be honest.
You did that on purpose. You set me up. You set me up with that on purpose, dude. I know you did.
You all heard him.
Oh, dude.
I want you
Did
to
you
be
actually
honest,
go there?
quote unquote.
Did you actually go there, dude? Come on, man. My wife is going to laugh at this for years when she sees this.
I'm surprised she doesn't just look at you in the morning and start laughing. Don't start with me.
Oh, she does every now and then. Okay.
She's like, Cherry, I love your hair.
No hair.
Just that one right there.
That one right.
No.
You grew a beard too, dude. You grew a beard too.
No, it's just I color it, so the gray is now colored.
I know, but it's a beard though there, John. You didn't have that 6 months or a year ago.
Well, that's because I had all that sun damage removed from my face.
Oh.
I shaved it all off.
Yeah.
And we are getting off topic.
Yeah, we are. Okay, my fault. Go ahead. What now?
Girl. Okay,
back.
so the other way I've seen it stop is I've seen some serious self-assessment, evaluation, and work being done. And then I've seen the two parties working together. Because I'll tell you, very rarely is it just the one side.
Oh, it's never.
Well, no. I've seen it be just the one side.
Okay. If we talk about legally and like that, but relationshipinal, I know it's not a word.
No, but
I've never. There's never. It's always. There's always some blame on both sides. Although, like when you get it might not be as drastic, but there's like once you get inside the court and mediation and all that, yeah, there might be somebody who did adultery and screwed around 10 times and all that. But behind the scenes on the other end, there's always something the other person did to help facilitate that or help, you know what I'm saying, on the relationship end. I know in the court end, yeah, you're right. Probably not.
Well, see, I'm going to say that the mainline heroin addict and the child molester.
Okay. If we gotta go that extreme, John. Okay.
Harry, you can't put caveats on it.
Dude,
after
you keep doing what them liberals do, man. That's like, okay, we gonna go extreme to the extreme. We gotta stay more close to the middle, bruh.
You're impossible, you know that? You're like, I want you to give me example.
No, I do.
give you an example, and you're like, oh, well, I don't want that one.
No, I want that. I'm just saying, I'm giving you the opposite end too, just like you're giving me the opposite end. That's all I'm saying.
I'm about to give you the opposite end here in a minute.
But so seriously, so go ahead, really.
Okay, so
I think it's interesting.
So what I've experienced firsthand is, with the exception of the heroin addict and the child molester,
okay,
and the suicide, is the those who have turned it around are people who, one, and this is the one bit of information, the one piece of advice I will give everyone, as long as there's not physical violence,
right,
is refuse to leave the home.
Oh, you are so the bomb. You are so the bomb, John. I said, dude, I tell them that all the time. Do not leave the house no matter what. Because once you do, your negotiate it's so hard as far as the dude leaving. Oh man.
Well, it's really difficult for you to try to woo them back and show them that you're not a total POS. If you're living in a third story walk up,
dude, I know,
across from someone who talks to ketchup bottles.
I know.
Especially if you're paying the mortgage on that house and your crappy little apartment.
I know.
Just saying.
Dude, that is such a revelation. Thank you for saying that, man. It's like, thank you. I cannot thank you.
Not to mention, if you have kids, it's best if they still get to see you every day. So,
yeah.
But it's going to take that self-reflection. And if you're not a church every weekend person, then you best get some Jesus in your life, because you need to
show that you
focus your life. It needs to be Christ-centered.
Wow.
It needs to be. The only time I've ever seen it fix itself is when the man turns his focus not even on the relationship. Not the focus isn't even on the relationship. When his focus is on his faith.
Oh man.
And he in the three times I've seen the relationships turn around in a 4.5 year time frame when I was watching this. The 3 times I've seen them turn around, they were all Catholics. They were all men between the ages of 35 and 50. One didn't have kids, and the other 2 did, so I guess that doesn't matter. But they all started going to Mass regularly. They all started going to adoration. And while they were going to Mass, they were going to adoration, they were praying the rosary, they picked up additional devotions. They did not live that faith by wearing it on their sleeve. It was a private devotion that ended up emanating and coming out of their pores. They ended up living it. They were not those people. They were not Pharisees. You couldn't tell that they were those fake Catholics coming down the road. You didn't see them coming down the street and say, "Oh God, here comes Jim. He just found his faith again. I can't stand being around him because all he does is stand there and chit chat with you and finger his rosary the entire time." I knew he was going to Mass because I saw him at St. Mary's when I would go there myself at noon. He was going there. One of the guys was going there at noon because we worked in the same building.
Mm-hmm.
He was going to Mass on Sunday at St. John's. He was doing adoration at Holy Rosary because we were the only church who had adoration during the week.
Mm-hmm.
He turned it around. He wasn't out there broadcasting it. He focused his life on Christ. He turned himself around. When he turned himself around, he was able to get his wife to recognize that he wasn't what she feared he had become. And they were able to go to marriage counseling. Now, from my perspective, they would have done better with a religious-based counselor, someone that's gone through the archdiocese. But they found a secular person, and it ended up working all right for them.
Mm-hmm.
They're still married.
Dude, the
7
guys
years
I
now.
work with are gonna be like, man, he set that up. I'm telling y'all, I did not set this up. That man that you just heard, that totally came from him. What you just said is basically word for word this the program, the Catholic Alpha program is it. That's it straight up. And man, y'all, I didn't set that up, I promise.
I'll vouch for him. I'm not going to hell for Jerry Jacobs.
That's right. So that is what I try to get the man to do. Folk, get to confession, get back into prayer, start praying rosaries, get to adoration, start focusing 100% on God and your wife and your marriage. You fix all that, everything else will fall into place. And then that's what we do. And
the other thing,
it works.
And the other thing, especially for your listeners who have kids, and I didn't see this with any of my clients, but I see this in my own marriage when my wife and I have when we're having disagreements, or I notice that Amy's becoming frustrated, and she's Italian, which is like every other day, or there's any difficulty for us, I recognize that the shortness, and not in her height, but I mean her patience, that shortness first emanates with the children. And then work, then the house, then me. If your guys can just sketch down what they notice the short straws are, where those fuses are, and then can attack those things and just address them.
That's right.
If there's an issue with, if the first issue that they see is with the kids, and their wife starts getting frustrated, and it's like, Billy he keeps playing ball in the house. Get him out of the house.
Yeah.
Go outside and play ball with the damn kid.
Well, see what we do as men, what we do is we see the problem, we see it, and we say, well, we'll take care of it later. And you can't take care of it later. You got to take care of it now. And I train them to listen. Look how your wife moves. Look how when she gets up in the morning, how is she? Always pay attention to her. You take nothing for granted with your wife, nothing. If she's moving different than she usually does, there's a reason why. If she's upset or frustrated than she usually is, there's a reason why. And what you as a man got to do is what? Man up, have the tough conversation, and go over there and ask. Maybe not be like right at that second, but you need to address it like you just said. But most of us, what we do is, well, I got to go to work, or I got to go do this, or I got to go do that. And then we either forget or we keep putting it off. And then off becomes 5 years. Then off becomes 10 years, then 20. And then, you're married 60 years. And then your wife is talking about, well, I want a divorce. I see it happen all the time. So let me ask you this though, John. You told me. So yeah. So basically what you're saying is the man, another thing men don't understand too is, man, men, we are the leader in the home. Whether this society acknowledges or not, it doesn't matter what they acknowledge. It's just the natural order of the way it is. We are not like, we are responsible. We have faults, and our wife have faults. But the thing about it is, it doesn't matter. The responsibility of the marriage comes from us. And that in the end which is what you're saying. If we step up and do what we're supposed to do, then most of the time it works out okay.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this question. So you told me about the self-improvement way of stopping the divorce. Legally, is there a way to stop it in its tracks?
No. Not that I've seen. Because it's now become a no fault. It can be delayed, but it can't be stopped. When you have what I mentioned earlier, and I apologize for that, for tripping over my words there, but when you have the respondent, when he's had the opportunity to respond to the filing, the court here in Indiana, as a for instance, it's not going to be immediate.
Right.
The court's going to say, okay, well, we have a cooling off period, because let's face it, the heat of the moment, I get mad at Amy over something stupid, or more than likely she's going to get mad at me over something. And we're just going to say, for the sake of the argument, anything Amy gets mad at me over is going to be stupid. And because I'm awesome again, alabaster,
right?
And so she gets mad at me. She goes to file for divorce. The judge is going to be like, okay, well, he is a, to quote Jeremiah Johnson, fine figure of a man. You need to calm down till you come to your senses and recognize that he's the greatest good you're ever going to get.
Yeah.
And so 6 to 8 months, you need to calm down. mediation set out within the next, 9 to 12 months. Find someone, submit the names between the parties, find attorneys, submit names, get something scheduled, notify the court. We want an update the court as to what's going on, and let us know. We want an update, if this is, April 7th, we want an update by August 30th. And the court will do something like that. I mean, it'll be a sooner date than that.
So how do we get it to where a man who wants to stop a divorce or delay it, how can we get the mediator or the judge? I know this isn't going to work in every state, but what I'm asking is, because what's happening, I'm going, and I know everybody, just please bear with me, because I'm going more, because what I deal with is the wife has left. So me and John are talking about mainly from the man's point of view. So from the man's point of view, if he doesn't want the divorce and he wants to stop it, how is there a way that he can get the judge to, like, even if in a lot of states the judge can't mandate counseling, marriage counseling, but here's what happens is, if the woman then left, like he says, she's out of the house, she then left, she's not negotiating in good faith. She's not going, well, because you know how women are, they get really mad, and once they get mad, they're hurt deep and they don't want nothing to do with you. So you have to get her heart back. But if she's not talking to you or not interacting, how can what you have to do with people? Because really, if the man is trying to change, there's no reason that a woman shouldn't give him a second chance. I'm just putting it out there. If a man is seriously changing, and then you have to, I think a woman is honored, because I think every woman should leave if her husband's acting like a knucklehead. But once he proves he's changing, he's trying his best to change, I think she's obligated to give that man one more chance. So my point of it is how is there a way that a judge can say, look, go to counseling for that 6 months, and if the woman still wants a divorce, then look, we'll give it to her. Because I hate marriage counseling, but in this situation, I love marriage counseling, because it will force the wife to sit down and actually tell. A lot of times the wife doesn't even tell the man why she left, because she's so emotional. She can't even articulate it. She just knows, I can't take it no more. So marriage counseling, if a judge says, or the mediator goes, okay, we're going to order marriage counseling for 6 months or a year or 3 months. How do we, that'll force her to sit down and at least acknowledge and get everything out. So at least the man knows what he did. So then he could try to adjust and fix it. Is there a way that we could do that?
You can try to negotiate something like that.
Beautiful.
And you can say through the attorneys.
Right.
I could have my attorney reach out to Amy's attorney and say, John doesn't want to give up on this. He is madly in love with you. And he recognized that he is a USDA prime.
Rest.
Grade A.
Quadruple A. Yes.
He is a worthless scum. He is a worm. He is not worthy of your awesomeness.
That's right.
He recognizes that he does not appreciate the artistic importance of classic Disney movies.
That's right.
And if that's not why you left, then maybe he doesn't understand how good Gilmore Girls was. And,
humility.
Whatever it is to get her back to the table to talk.
Yeah.
But what John ultimately wants is to go to counseling. And he wants to hear you. Because if I've heard it once, I've heard it a bazillion times from my own wife, that I don't listen. And if I do listen, I don't hear her.
Mm-hmm.
Well, frankly, if she had anything important to say, I'd listen and I'd hear it. But
a counselor is going to say, John, shut up. You ain't
Yeah.
listening to what Amy's saying.
Yes. Yeah.
So if I'm able to broach that as a person who is facing the forced dissolution of my marriage,
Mm-hmm.
then I'm going to take that option. I'm going to wrap it up in a bow, slap a box of Whitman sampler with it, a couple dozen roses, and I am going to crawl on my hands and knees and offer it to try to get her over there.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to find a way to pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
Because there is no way that I'm going to suggest it and then propose that we split that cost.
Oh, well, yeah, of course not.
Because that's the best way to ruin that.
Okay. Wow.
And I know that like this is an ugly, expensive process.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, there were people who used to go to mass with us, who used to attend Holy Rosary. I will not say names, of course. They go to weekly marriage counseling and started going 2 weeks after they got married. And they've been married since 2011.
Mm-hmm.
And my immediate thought was, how strong was your relationship that you had to start going to marriage counseling immediately after you got married?
Mm-hmm.
And then I found out that he was a convert, and I'm like, oh, well, okay, well, maybe that was your problem.
Whatever, dude. So basically, you can, so basically the person that doesn't want the divorce, instead of drawing this all out, what he could do.
You've got to draw it out.
No. What I'm saying is if she'll agree to go to marriage counseling, which does what? Forces her to sit down, forces him to sit down, forces her to be able to talk and him to listen and her to talk, or him to talk and her to listen. And then if that doesn't work in say 6 months to a year or whatever, then I'll give her what she wants. We'll go ahead and expedite this through.
Yeah.
Because if not, then what can he do? If not, if she doesn't agree to do that, then what can he could just draw it out for? I know I've seen long as 2 years.
You can drag it out. And that's the thing is if you can. Okay, putting on my total jerk, bad actor attorney hat,
mm-hmm.
and it fits really well.
Yes. So you are now the Bulldog attorney.
Bulldog attorney, the hired gun. Okay.
Yes.
So we're going into mediation. I want the house. I want the cars. I want you to pay for my student loan debt, and I want your mother's china. How about that? The yacht.
And I want the kids.
And I want the kids. and I want 2 of your frozen eggs. How about that? Because my next 2 kids are going to be genetically related to their siblings. Okay, so none of that is going to get approved.
None of it.
She's not going to agree to any of it.
Right.
None.
Because she's already mad anyway.
Oh, yeah. And also after you have your totally unrealistic demands,
mm-hmm.
She's going to also want you to agree to die.
Right.
So, you guys just aren't agreeing on anything ever.
Right. So that's how you delay it. That's basically how you delay it.
Right. Well, and that, your attorney is going to love that.
Oh, yeah.
They're just hearing their $300 an hour
go bing, 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 bing.
Right. So be ready for that. Because the next step is when your mediation falls through is you're setting a trial.
Good.
And that, depending on what court you're in, what county and what state, it could be a year, it could be 6 months, pandemic could be longer.
Yeah.
Could be virtual, could be in person. I've never seen one in front of a jury.
because they're normally in front of a judge for these, in my experience. That's not saying that they couldn't be in front of a jury. I've just never seen one. So I won't want to speak out of school about that. But those can be continued and be kicked out because of conflicts. Attorneys, we like vacations.
Right.
We have other responsibilities. We have other clients. So we have other things that get in the way. That drags things out. There's a downside. And I'm going to be 100% honest with this. And it really can cause problems, and it can poison you, the man, more than it can the woman. Women, in my experience, can go years without sex. Men cannot. If you are dragging a case out like this, you will either turn to self-abuse, or you will start looking elsewhere. And that's potentially also the fact that she might do that as well.
Right. Which in most cases, they're already doing that anyway, the woman. So
in some cases, yeah.
Yeah. So what do we, so that brings me to getting away from the monetarily contesting, the monetarily, the physical type, the materialistic things, to morally things. So adultery. So can he hold it up by, like, I know one cat that I work with, adultery is hard, but the lawyer brought it up in their state. You can put adultery on the table. And then what that does is you're playing the bulldog attorney because she's not listening. So he's put that on the table and it's going to bring out all her stuff. Is there a way to do things like that? Because I know then one dude said that he can't do an adultery. Another state said that's not going to stop anything. But what it does is bring out bring out the realism of the situation, right?
I was not involved in this particular case at the firm, but the case, I saw adultery get brought up and included in a pleading that was sent over to counsel. It was never actually filed. It was sent to counsel so it would be shared with his client so that they would sit down and talk realistically.
Exactly.
Because she didn't want her family to know that she was a dirty hoe bag.
Yeah, exactly.
And I know of cases where, not cases that were in the firm, but I know from anecdotally, I know from friends of mine whose marriages have ironically been saved, though I can't imagine how healthy they would have been, where the marriages were falling apart and they were getting ready to split up, and one of the two of them were like, well, we don't want this to end. And they said, if we don't fix this, if we don't work together to fix this, I'm telling your parents that you were cheating on me. And that snapped the other party into, okay, fine, let's work on this.
And because one of the things I do, man, is I tell the guys, look, here's the strategy and you tell me now, and you tell me what you think about it, because this is like the coup de grace question, okay? I suggest to them, look, here's what you do. not out of vengeance, but out of you're trying to stop a crazy woman from splitting up your marriage, from splitting up your family. So what I suggest that they do is when they go to mediation or to the court, they let everybody else talk first. The lawyers, her, let everybody do what they want to do. Then at the end of the mediation or the hearing, he asks his lawyer, can I now say something? And of course, the lawyer and the judge will probably say yes. What you do is you stand up and you look your wife in the face and you tell her, listen, I love you. Like you were saying, John, I know I totally screwed up, but I am changing. I'm trying to be the man that you need. I'm trying to be the husband you need. I am changing for you. All I'm asking is, can you please give me 6 months to a year in counseling together where we try our best to figure this out and to work together. And if you do that, and if that at the end of that time, if you want a divorce, I will not contest it. We'll negotiate and get things done really quick. And then I say you administer as much humility in that room as possible, because then the lawyers see that you don't want nothing, the judge sees you don't want nothing, the mediator sees you don't want nothing, and your wife sees you don't want nothing. That you just want to try to save your family. And then you sit down and you let her talk, or whoever. If she agrees, that's awesome. If she doesn't, then plan B is to unleash your bulldog attorney.
So no attorney worth his salt is going to let you stand up and say anything in court.
Okay.
Because if
can
you,
he talk?
You're paying your attorney to talk for you.
Okay. This is why I'm asking the question.
Every time when I was in there and my client was trying to talk, I'd be like, Your Honor, excuse me. Un momento, por favor.
Got you.
And then I turn, and in the most colorful language possible, I would threaten the very life essence of my client. To the point once where I said that I would gut him if he uttered one more syllable.
Well, that's why he asked for permission first. Remember, I said you asked your lawyer for permission.
And then he asked me permission, and I said no.
No. So then how, John? So how does the husband get that out into the open so that she can respond, or that we can get, come on, help me, brother.
I already told you that, Chair Bear. I said.
I'm stupid.
No. You're like my wife. You don't listen. Which is why we're going to be in divorce. Damn it. I'm beginning to take Mary's side here. So,
I'm listening.
You've hired me, and she has hired her attorney to communicate for us.
Yeah.
I know what you want is your attorney. So I'm going to reach out to her attorney. I'm going to be like, okay, this is what my client wants. He wants to go to counseling for 8 to 10 to 12 months. And what he's willing to do is he's willing to give her the house, the cars, take half the debt, 50-50 on child care and whatnot, do child support with revisitation on child support every 8 months in case he gets a promotion and gets a pay increase. No muss, no fuss, agreement on everything. As long as, and it's already written out. It's already agreed on. But it's not signed. We want 8 to 10 to 12 months counseling first. If you can do
beautiful
8 to 12 months of counseling and it's not working, then he'll sign it and we're done.
So I know women. So let me get this in. This is the next question. When women, they get mad and they get hurt deeply, and then their lawyers just talking to them, that anger is going to keep festering and festering. logic a lot of times, and I know why women are emotional because of the nurturing of the kids, just like why men are logical because they have to be able to focus, and that's how we're made. So my question is though, man, women, if they're just talking to their lawyer, man, the lawyer is going to feed them. The woman is just going to feed into that frenzy. So is there a way that we can have a meeting with the lawyers and the clients, just them, and then he says what he says without any judge or any mediators in the room? We can like meet at your office or whatever.
Yeah, all that has to happen is my attorney or your attorney contacts their attorney and says, hey, my client wants to sit down.
Beautiful.
The four of us, he has a proposal. He wants to run this by him. This is essentially what it is. Mm-hmm. But he wants us all to sit down. No fighting, no arguing. He just wants to run this by.
I love it. I love it.
Because at this point, hopefully, everyone's still living in the same house.
They're not.
Okay, well.
Okay. In my situation, no, they're not. I only got 2 guys who are living in the same house with their wives. Everybody else left the house, and I know I tell them all the time, don't ever do that again next time, okay?
Hey, the other thing is, if the family, I mean, don't think that unless there's a protective order and a no contact order, look at the other avenues for communication. Unless there's something prohibiting the communication lines, because if there's no contact order, there's no third party communication permitted. But you can go to your mother-in-law and say, hey, Marge, I know you think I'm an F up, and guess what? You're right, I am. And you know how you said that I'm a low down good for nothing, and that all I do is sit and watch the Colts and scratch my butt?
Mm-hmm.
Well, believe it or not, that's what my counselor says too. So now I'm using a moisturizing lotion when I get out of the shower, and I'm not watching the Colts anymore. And I'm making steps, and I'm going to a therapist, and I'm doing these things. And I think that, your daughter and I could fix things by going to a therapist. And I want to know what your thoughts are. Don't ask her to talk to her for you. Get her feedback. Because if mom thinks that you're actually making progress, she'll start saying things.
And that's what I call soldiers. I implement that in the thing. We attack this in the program. We attack this in many facets, and that's one of them. I tell the dudes, get you some soldiers. Your soldiers are who? Your kids, her friends, your friends, your parents, her parents. And what you do is you show them that you're changing. When they see you, they see your change. So what do? They go, girl, maybe you ought to give him another chance, that kind of thing.
Well, and the thing about soldiers, just remember, you have to be careful, especially with the children, because and with parents too, when there's no contact orders and and things like that. I mean, you're violating court orders. And
even if you have someone go and talk to them for you and a no protective order is messed up, right?
Right. I mean, you can go to jail.
Right. So I almost don't work with people who have I've turned a lot of dudes down because they have a no contact order. Because I don't care if she's not talking to you, we can work on that. But if there's a protective order that says you can't text, talk, see them in person, on phone or nothing, then I kind of most part tell them, okay, man, here's what you do. When you try to get that knocked down, and when you can, then come back. Because I don't see, there's no way around that. You have to be able to, even if you text her and she don't respond, she's at least reading it, and then that'll get to her after a while. But no, what do you think? Contact, no, I know a dude right now.
I would agree. Because, you could, if there's a no contact order, you could still, I mean, let's put it in the classification or the analogy of my marriage. Amy and I are on the rocks and there's no contact order. I could still reach out to my father-in-law or my mother-in-law and talk to them. As long as I'm not asking them to speak to Amy on my behalf.
Okay.
I'm not violating the no contact order.
Okay.
If they speak to her of their own volition,
And that's what I mean.
on them.
And that's what I mean.
So, I'm going to say that there's no such thing as a lost cause, especially if it's a God ordained
Right.
union.
That's kind of the point of view I take it from.
But at the same point, I'm going to also weigh that judgment based on the unique circumstances of each case.
Right. So is there a way to do, once the contact, two questions and we're done. How do you, once the divorce is already been through, it's over for say 2 weeks, 6 months, a year, whatever. Is there any way to reopen the divorce if the other person is not doing things the way they're supposed to? Like like you're supposed to give them the money, they're mismanaging the money, or they're taking the kids and turning the kids against the little kids against the father. You know, they're not holding up to their end of they're not letting them see them, or they get mad and start doing stuff like that. Is there any way to come back and, let me tell you why. There's this cat. He was kind of a wuss in the divorce thing. He did what men do these days. He said, okay, whatever. I'm not going to fight it. You can have the full custody of the kids. You can have the 401k. You can have the house. You can just have everything. I got to still pay you money, whatever. Now now he wants his wife and his family back, but the divorce is so screwed up. He just can't make any headway because he didn't man up and fight. He just kind of listened. He was aloof. But now she's mismanaging the money. She's turning the kids against him. The kids are cussing him out, talking about F you. These are little 13-year-old kids. Is there any way to open that back up, man? Please.
Well, depending on what's actually going on with you'd have to see the financials and see what's actually happening. Mm-hmm. Could, with the help of an attorney,
yes,
you can petition the court to revisit the financial obligation, because part of either the divorce decree or the agreement, which is still going to be a divorce decree, is going to be a determination as to what the obligations of the parties are. And if an individual's financial circumstances have changed, in this case, the man's financial circumstances changed, where he can't afford to pay, say, $100 a week for the kids, the court, by law, is not going to obligate him to pay that. Mm-hmm. It's going to be based off of his income by statute for Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
So if, let's say, as an example, he was working for Lilly, mm-hmm. and he was making $450,000, $500,000 a year. He's making $500,000 a year. She's going to be getting $2,000-$3,000 a week for 2 or 3 kids, because the standard of living that they would have been accustomed to would require that the child support be around that much.
Well, if he got laid off or terminated, and now he's flipping burgers, the divorce decree still says that that's how much he owes based on the child support matrix.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now he's making what, $28,000 a year, but the divorce decree still says that he's making this much. He has to file something with the court to have that revisited.
Can he revisit? Can he also do that in case of child custody and stuff? Instead of her having full custody, can he redo it and fight for?
Depending on what the actual decree was.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if there's other issues, again, I don't know the ins and outs of that case.
Exactly.
But under normal circumstances, he'd be able to say, hey, at the time this happened, I didn't have stable housing. I had some health issues or, whatever may have been going on. I didn't have the ability to have the kids.
So now I want them.
Now I want 50-50.
Mm-hmm.
Girl, give them up. And also, they're not going to be at whatever school that they're at. They're going to a good school.
So we getting the Bulldog attorney thing going again.
Right. Now, depending on what jurisdiction they're in, that may not fly.
I know.
But it's worth going and finding an attorney to see if it can happen.
Because this is what's happening. She's allowing things to happen with the kids that are totally, and believe me, I'm a very liberal thing when it comes to, kids and parents interacting, but when you're like turning the kids against the father when he's not around and the kids are disrespecting him and the money that I'm giving you every month, you're mismanaging the money and spending it the crazy ways.
That's not a basis.
Okay.
That's not a basis.
Okay.
That the money that is,
the money part's not the kid part.
No. Well, and really even the disrespect.
Okay.
The money that gets given in child support, it does not matter how that is spent.
Mm-hmm.
She does not have to provide an accounting.
Right.
She could spend it all on Louis Vuittons, all on red bottoms, and whatever else is that people spend good money on.
So can he do it? One of the things I ask him to do is negotiate that. Look, from now on, the money I asked, if the kids need something, instead of giving her the money, can I just get the stuff for the kids? I know that has to be done beforehand.
No. If there's a divorce decree, it should be all the money that is going to her for the children should be going through the courts or the county.
Okay.
There should be absolutely no exchange of money between the two parties.
Beautiful.
Mano a mano.
Beautiful.
Because he's not getting credit for that.
Got you. Okay.
Any money that he gives her, he's not getting credit for.
Okay.
So if he has child support obligations, he has to give it through
the court.
Whatever governmental agency keeps track of it.
Gotcha.
If there is something in the decree that says that the kid's health stuff, he covers half of it, then if I were him, I want the bill from the doctor's office. I'm not reimbursing you, crazy lady.
Mm-hmm.
I'll pay the doctor's office directly because I don't trust you. I didn't trust you in the beginning because you're a liar.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly, you're turning your children against me, my children against me.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I'm going to take over this. I will take over the payment on this account to make sure that it's done correctly, so that you have more time to spend with our children and your new boyfriend.
Right. So the process inside the mediation room in the court goes how, like what?
Okay, so mediation will always come first. 9 out of 10 times you will not be in the same room as your spouse.
Okay.
You can, if you guys are on good terms, then you can be. In my experience, it is not common that you are on good terms, so they separate you.
Nobody supports you in any. If you're trying to save your marriage, nobody supports you whatsoever.
In my experience, most people, when they get to this point, are not trying to save their marriage, Jerry. The fact that we are dealing with a small section of people
Right.
that are trying to save their marriage makes us an oddity.
Right.
The fact that I have worked with people who have successfully saved their marriage while practicing law makes me a $3 bill.
Right.
I mean, in truth, it does.
It's like people just go, you want a divorce? Okay, well, there you go. The court doesn't help. The lawyers don't help. The mediation don't help. The society doesn't help. Nobody cares. They just let people screw up and don't even make them do anything. And then they get what they want. And then their lives are worse than it was with when they was. It's just, well, anyway.
Well, it's because, Jerry, what people forget is that the legal system is not here to fix this. The legal system is here to sort it out after it couldn't be fixed. We're here to try to mitigate a disaster.
Yeah.
We're here because a husband and wife's marriage fell apart. We're here because a guy robbed a T-Mobile store. We're here because someone ran a red light fleeing from police and killed kids crossing a street. We, in the legal system, are reactionary.
Yes. Police too.
We're a thermometer. We're not a thermostat.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what people don't understand. We tell you what the temperature is. We don't set that temperature.
So basically what we're saying is, okay, the mediation, they're in separate rooms to me, or in separate rooms or on the Zoom. And then what?
And then you'll have a mediator. The mediator is a otherwise disinterested third party that is hired by the two sides. That person has extra training. They are licensed in their state to do mediations, to conduct mediations. And they work with the two attorneys and their clients, and they facilitate the communication between the parties, whether that's in different rooms by moving offers back and forth and bringing the parties closer together with their demands and their realistic expectations of settlement, or if everyone's in the same room, having realistic, respectful, calm communication discussions.
Okay. What about the court hearing?
Court hearings are very.
So in the mediation, does nobody gets to talk except the lawyer and the mediation person?
No, you can have the parties speaking. You will the parties, the husband and wife, they will have to have permission, because you can absolutely blow up a mediation by talking out of turn.
Mm-hmm.
which may be what you want, but normally not.
Okay. And the court's how's the court the same way, or?
Court is very structured. It is very formal. Where a mediation is more like a back and forth with a referee, a court is a formal dance like a waltz. There's particular places people stand. There's particular gestures people have to make, particular language the attorneys have to use, particular clothes people have to wear. It's all very formal. Some courtrooms are more formal than others. The attorneys are accustomed to the courtrooms that they practice in. When you have a hearing, there are different types of hearings. A pretrial conference is going to be different from a status conference. A status conference is going to be different from a status update hearing. A status conference is going to be different from, I already said a pretrial conference, but a evidentiary hearing. It's also going to be different from a deposition, which is not necessarily going to be a court hearing, but I have had depositions that are held in hearing rooms in courthouses, so that if there is an issue with a question being asked, it can be certified and immediately taken to a judge so that the judge can rule as to whether or not that question has to be answered. It was very odd, but I have seen that done. The trials, again, very formal, back and forth. Opening statements, closing statements, presentation of evidence, all very unique, all very specific.
All right. Well,
and for each case, very unique.
So that's it, man. Man, thanks so much, man. We went like 20 minutes overdue, but I'm sorry. I didn't want to cut it off because it was so, it was very important. And I think you helped a lot of people. And, I hope that, you gave some really great strategy and tactics, which, everybody loves strategy and tactics, right? Nobody wants to pray. Nobody wants to pray, but boy, you give me some good strategy and tactics, boy. So
anytime, Jerry.
Thanks, man. And we'll talk soon. And I hope to have you on again, man, to go, talk some more, dude, when I need some help. All right. Thanks, John. Have a good day, man.
Thank you, Jerry. Anytime, just let me know.
All right, brother. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.
She's asked for divorce. Now what? Of course, you just didn't see it coming, but it has. So now what do you do? Well, what you do is step 1, you decide to man up and fight for her no matter what. Step 2, decide if one of these categories in the marriage maintenance master plan fits your situation. A, she's asked for divorce. B, she has left the home. C, mutually agreed separation but didn't want it. D, she's in the home but distant or separate bedrooms. E, you're divorced but didn't want it. Now, step 3, if you are in one of these critical situations or close to it, then register to watch the Marriage Masterclass immediately at www.savemycatholicmarriage.com. Step 4, after watching the masterclass, get the help you need by scheduling a discovery and strategy session to receive a proven plan of action tailored specifically for your situation. Many husbands will look at this and go back to allowing their marriage to fade into oblivion, accepting failure. But some will look at this and say, wonder if this works. Those are the warriors. Those are the husbands I want to go into battle with. Those are the husbands I want to work with.
So allow me to help. Those that do nothing have a 100% chance of failure. Those that decide to battle, fight, and act like true men become worthy of winning their beloved back. Which are you? Visit www.savemycatholicmarriage.com. That's www.savemycatholicmarriage.com. Learn how to once again become her hero. All right, fellas and ladies, I hope that you got a lot of information out of that. I know it was long, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the, I'm going to put like on the, inside the description area on YouTube and on the audio podcast on Blueberry and all that stuff. I'm going to put where you can just skip the background information if you want and go straight to Understanding Divorce, because I know this is like basically a 2 hour long podcast, and I know a lot of people don't want to watch the whole thing. So what I'll do is everywhere I put it, I'll have the description, which you can skip to this point in the video, and then you can watch it like that. So also, I'm going to have Big John on again because we didn't get into the church and in the Normans too much because the divorce thing was just too deep for me. I was sitting there. I was like, oh, I was sitting there, boy. I was like, oh, I was all into it big time. So we're going to have him on again. And the next going to talk about annulments and the church and how the divorce and all that works together. So as we end today, as we always do, my quote from Pope Benedict XVI, which states, society offers you comfort, but you weren't made for comfort. You were made for greatness. So go forth, Christian soldier. The spiritual fight is upon you. Fast, pray, and prepare for battle. Thank you, Christian soldier, for listening in today. Do you have a critical or pressing problem in your marriage right now? Want help? Come on the show and ask me in person. We can do this completely anonymously. You don't have to be on camera or say your name. It's totally up to you. I would just love to have you as a guest on the show. More importantly, you would be helping other men as well. Contact me at radicalquestions@catholicalpha.com. And lastly, please share this podcast with someone that may need help in their marriage or relationship. Help me save a marriage today.